Hello, my beautiful, amazing people. Welcome back. If you don't know me, my name is Tatiana Roselle Haldeman. I'm a Christian teenager who loves Jesus so much, and today I'm going to be explaining kind of why I'm a Christian teenager and why do I follow Jesus instead of this world and all that good stuff. So, first of all, hello. I'm back. I don't know how long I'll be back, but I want to do like a whole series, like reading a chapter series, like the Bible series. So I'm maybe gonna play on that. But today I would like to explain something about how everything you do and everything you speak, this and that, is so meaningless if you don't have Christ in it. And because it is. It really, really is. And that's a hard thing for us to believe because we are so self-centered. We look for things that will try to fulfill our hole in our heart. But we need to know that Christ fills it. And that nothing, no one else fills it but Jesus Christ, our living and breathing hope. And that's something that, my heart just feels so in, because my eyes are finally open. That's how I can see that. And a lot of people, they say, Tatiana, I am so inspired by how you followed Jesus at a young age because I wasn't. I was doing some bad stuff. And I hear that and I'm like, wow. I look back in my life and I'm thinking how I needed God the most in those moments, and how when I ran to the man that would love me and would not treat me like garbage, then I realized, okay, well, I'm not following this world because this world will not give me satisfaction, and everything you do is so meaningless. And I look at my life and I see how he worked with my life in those moments. I found the Lord when, I was like a bit, 10, 11-ish. I started taking my life to Christ, and that was because I realized how much this world was ugly, and was simple, and was so cruel, and how just life is hard and without Christ in your life, and how I couldn't do it by myself. When I gave my life to Christ, I was dealing with something. It was just in my stomach. So I was dealing with that, and at that moment, I couldn't really vent to anybody because all my life I kind of just, I don't know. I've had a lot of surgery, but at that time my mom was just a worrier. She was worrying a lot, and she's still worried, but at that time I felt like I couldn't tell nobody because I was scared of what they were going to say. I was scared of what they were going to do. So I ran to the Lord, and I was just weeping at his feet, and I was like, Lord, I can't. You're my last resort, okay, but he should be my first resort, right? But it was not like that, I met God at a time where I just felt so empty that I tried everything out, but I looked at everything out, but I found only Jesus. And I sit here, I realize that when I pass from this earth and I come home to my Father, that's the only thing I can imagine. Not what I did, not who I met, not anything else, but my relationship with Jesus, and that's what matters. When you come to that conclusion, when you're like, okay, I chased this, I chased that, I ran to this, I ran to that, I tried everything, Papi. Now what? I don't have that same smile as yours. I don't have that same joy as yours. And it's not to say that Christians don't have hard days, because I've had hard days. But it's not to say that Christians don't have, sad day, but it's to say that you can have joy, that peace, that love to pass all understanding. And this world is wicked, this world is cruel because of us, because of what we did, because of our selfish selves. And I just feel like that was the main cause of my relationship. I needed to get this right. Because in my life I had dealt with so many medical issues. Besides that, I had dealt with family issues and just, division, you get it. Furthermore, you know what I mean? There's been so many times where I've just been like, Lord, I need your help. And then growing up as a teenager, I got in so many thoughts. And I come to find out that every time I searched, every time I tried to add something out because everybody else was doing it, I realized that it wasn't working. I realized that it wasn't going out the way that it wasn't giving me happiness and peace. And people say to me, like my mom was saying to me this morning, I don't know why you're so smiling. And a lot of people say that. I'm like, I got some Jesus juice. If you want something, here's your Jesus juice. I'm only happy and I'm only glad and I'm only kind and I'm only sweet and caring and loving, not because of me, not because of anything I did, not because of what I come with, but who is in me. And when you let him flourish you, when you let him do his work, you realize, okay, well, maybe this life is so meaningless, but I just have Jesus. You know what I mean? And that's something that I recognize in my life, where I just looked and looked, but I found nobody but Jesus. And Solomon talked a lot about that in Ecclesiastes, and that's what we're in church. But I want to talk about that because a lot of my friends, they have a lot of things and that will satisfy them, they try to satisfy them, to cover the hurt, to cover the pain, to cover the trauma, to cover everything up in this life that friends, or that you video games, or that so many other things to try to cover it, try to numb the pain, but nothing will work. No greater peace, no greater joy, no greater happiness, no greater love, no greater joy than Jesus. And I'm telling you that in the most loving way. That everything that you might, everything you worry about, everything you try to work on will fade and will leave. But why do you stress? Why do you think that? Why? I'm not going to say following Jesus is so easy. It's not. It's a risk. It's such a risk. When I gave my life to Christ, I didn't know I care. I didn't. And I didn't know what was going to happen, obviously. Because all I was worried about was just nothing. But now growing up as a Christian teenager and realizing that you're so separated from this world, it got me realizing that, gosh, it is a cost. But it's the best cost in the world. Because I wouldn't trade it for nothing. And that's something that it's just healing to me. Because when you look in your life and you see how meaningless it is, because you're working for everything, when one day you're gonna die. And you realize that everything is so meaningless, so why did I focus on it? Why did I worry about it? And as a Christian teenager, I gave my life to Jesus early because I realized that. I realized after everything I've been through, no greater peace, no greater joy had satisfied me. And obviously that's something that I just, I realized in my walk with Jesus. Is that I had tried every little thing that teenagers and people have tried in their life. And, when people say, I'll give my life to Jesus later, Jesus is so boring. No, Jesus is the funnest thing in the world. It really, really is. Even through all the pain and the trauma that I've been through, that man has been right there, making me laugh, making me cry, making me the happiest person on earth, the joyful person on earth. And I look at my family life and I see, how when I get out of Bible study, I just look how lost it really is, because when you realize that Jesus is your main point, you realize that, man, I can be joyful. And when I at the end of the Bible study, I walk in, and everybody's so mad at each other, everyone's so sad, everyone's so just, at each other, you know what I mean? But I realize that in the perspective that, sometimes when it does not come to be easy, and when I get left out in things, I do want to join Christ. I do want to join the world. But when, things do happen, and, I look in their life and I see how sad they really are sometimes. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I have you, Lord. I'm so glad that this life is not meaningless now. And I want to read, and people say, wow, Lord, wow, I am so, you are so amazing, like, wow, like, to join Christ right now. And I'm like, I kind of had no choice, I'm looking everywhere. And, it was at a point in my life where I just needed him the most. And I didn't care. So if you see that joy, if you see that love, if you see that, happiness from me, it's not me. It's not me. Because I was a crumble mess when Jesus found me. I was. And it says in Psalms 121, this is what I would say to you. I lift my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch your coming and your going, both and now and forevermore. Do you guys realize how peaceful and how comforting that is? That no other peace, no other joy, no other love will ever satisfy you but that? Do you realize that? And when you come to join Christ, I'm not going to say that you're not going to feel empty. I'm not going to say that you're not going to feel sad or tired or angry or whatever. You're a human being. Be about that. But the difference is you have someone you can run to that is forever and not temporary. That will stick by your side no matter what. And that's why I came to you at a young age, because I knew I needed him. Because he was my only satisfaction, and he will evermore, and so will be my satisfaction. And Solomon talks about that so much. He said in Ecclesiastes 2:14, so I hated my life, because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. I hated all the things I had toiled for under the sun. Because I must leave them to the one who comes after me, and the one who rather that person will be wise or foolish, yet they will not have control over all the fruit of my soul, into which I have poured my efforts and skill under the sun. This too meaningless, so my heart began to despair all my soul's labor under the sun. For a person may slumber with the knowledge and skill, and then they must leave. Person may labor with wisdom, but they must leave all they own to another who will be told for it. This too meaningless, and a great most formed. And what do people get for all the toil, anxiousness, and striving with which they have slumbered under this, and all be bathed, and all be work, and all be grief, and meaningless, and in pain? Even at night their minds are not there. This too is meaningless. A person who can do nothing better than eat or drink and find satisfaction in their own toil, this I see is this from the hand of God. For without him who can eat or drink or find enjoyment, to the person who pleases him, God. Ooh, so good. Jesus is the only satisfaction in this life, that If you please God, then you're doing everything right. Think about the main goal. To give God glory, to serve Him, and to make His kingdom known. So it's not meaningless without Jesus. But go serve the Lord today. He loves you.